Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Health Promotion Kingston's Wellness Wednesday webinars. I'm just going to throw a poll up on the right-hand side of your screen. So I'm going to invite those of us who are in the room and currently joining us to complete the poll for me. We always like to know who's in the audience. Like to see who's joining us today on this wintry Wednesday. And I also invite you to, and we already have some good mornings and hellos in the chat. Always nice to get those greetings. So I invite you to head over to the chat and say good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're still waiting on a few more people. I'll get started very shortly, in about 30 seconds or so. So if you're just joining us this morning, please complete the poll question and say hello. Hi, Mark. Yes, I realize that former member and D&D civilian, that some of you may be in more than one of the categories in the poll. So just choose the best one that represents you in this moment, I suppose. But thanks for pointing that out. Good morning, everybody. This is great. So thank you so much for joining me. I am going to get started. We have 30 minutes this morning to chat about the concept of active listening. So my name is Jackie LeSarge. I'm a health promotion specialist here at CFB Kingston. I have Jeremy joining me this morning, who's a colleague of mine who will be moderating for me. So if there are any technical concerns, he is there to help out. And he will also be helping out with some chat concerns or questions as well if I don't get a chance to see them right away. So welcome, Jeremy. Okay, let's get into it this morning. So when it comes to good communication and good communication skills, it's one of the #1 traits for great leadership. Whether you are a supervisor, whether you are a parent, a peer, a coach, a mentor of some sort, many of us focus effectively on delivering our message and on what we have to say. However, all too often we forget about the other component of communication, and that is the ability to listen and to listen actively. So the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And this is one element of less than ideal active listening that many of us can relate to. So if we can work toward improving our overall active listening skills, we can hopefully combat this one element of it. And I chose this topic to speak about today because for myself, I need to keep working on my active listening skills and be reminded to listen actively as a parent, as a colleague, and also as a friend. So let us get started. We're going to chat about a bunch of different things related to active listening that are key to helping us out in life, whether it be at work and our personal relationships as well. Before we go further, I just wanted to review a couple of points. So the presentation you are about to view is the intellectual property of D&D, so please do not reproduce or share without permission. The webinar is being recorded. So for those of us who can't join us live this morning, it will be available for viewing next week on CAF Connection. I will be using the chat function and the poll function today. The chat and the poll answers will not be visible on the recorded version. And of course, we are running weekly Wednesday webinars. So you can visit pspkingston.com to get a schedule of that, but I will also be sharing a specific link to you later on throughout the morning or throughout the next 30 minutes. Okay, let us get started. Health promotion in the Canadian Armed Forces. So our primary goal is to help CAF members and their families take control over their health and well-being. So we deliver a variety of programming focusing on education, prevention, and awareness in 4 main areas of health promotion that you can see on the screen here. We are not currently doing in-person programming due to the current stay-at-home order. However, we are offering our live Wellness Wednesday webinars. We do have a new time coming in May, just to make you aware. 11 o'clock will be our new time, but next week it will still be an 8:30 time slot, and I will remind you of that at the end of this webinar. We also have our Monkey Mind Mondays, which is a component of the Mind Muscle program led by Sharon Ash, Health Promotion Specialist. And the idea of the program is to strength train your brain through a variety of mindfulness-based practices. So on Facebook Live, through the Mind Muscle Facebook group, you can log on, and from 12 to 12:45 on Mondays, you can experience and practice a very relaxing mindfulness practice. We also have a reset program that we are doing virtually, and that is beginning in May. So twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12, you can participate in our virtual reset series, which really takes many health promotion programs and puts them into and puts them into one program. So if you're looking to gain some skills and education in stress management, nutrition and healthy eating, injury prevention, sleep strategies, you can join us for that virtual series starting in May. And I will provide you with a link you can save in your favorites and easily access. If you're interested in registering for that program, you can click there to register. Okay, wonderful. I'm just checking the chat to see if everything's running smoothly. I see there's a few technical problems, but hopefully everyone is getting sorted out there. So thanks, Jeremy, for helping out with that. Okay, so when it comes to active listening, we may all be able to relate to this situation presently. You're 10 minutes into a virtual meeting or video call, you get an email notification, so you decide to check it out because you've been waiting for a reply from a colleague. Email was not what you were waiting for, so your thought process starts to go to, when will I get that email? I really need to get this task done. Then you see a coupon for a local restaurant on your coffee table, and you think, oh, maybe I should order that for dinner tonight. But then that triggers a thought process of, wait a second, I have tons of leftovers in the fridge. I should probably have that for dinner tonight. Then you hear your phone ping. You quickly glance, not important. Then you come back to the meeting. What did they just say? How did they switch topics so quickly? How could I have missed that? Well, not a whole lot of active listening happening there. And Julian Treasure, who is a sound and communication expert, I recently watched a TED Talk, and he spoke to the fact that, and he said this really well, that we are the results of living in a really noisy world right now speaks to the fact that we are losing our listening. So these days, with so many distractions around us, from our phones to our families, staying focused and staying on point is really super hard. On its own, listening is tough. It may seem like a simple act on the surface, but to listen and to listen actively requires some really deep skills. With the COVID-19 pandemic, working remotely, video meetings, webinars such as this one, it's a necessity for many of us. So being able to actively listen while in a virtual environment, it's needed in order to maintain a productive work life while at home. Relationships, personal and work, connections, productivity, achievement of our goals can be improved with active listening, because listening is essentially our access to understanding. The more we understand, the more we can learn. and the better we can connect with and treat others. Without listening to understand, and the more we just focus on what we want to say and what our thought process is, the world could pretty much end up being a pretty scary place. Conflict would be occurring at a pretty high rate. So it's very important to implement and listen to understand, especially being leaders within the Canadian Armed Forces. Whether you're a military member or a civilian employee, it requires you to be an effective, active listener in order to lead effectively, to best communicate with colleagues and subordinates, to resolve conflict, to make decisions, as well as supporting others. When we are in conversation with others, we all want to be heard, and we all want to feel heard and be understood. How do you know if someone is listening to you? So I invite you to go to the chat box and reflect on that. What are some specific things that you may notice when you are speaking to someone in conversation and they are actively listening to you? So I invite you to use the chat. Nodding, absolutely. Eye contact. No distractions, that's a big one. Repeating back the important bits, paraphrasing. All wonderful examples. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Facial expressions, gestures, yes, which speak volumes, that body language piece. Now I'd like you to recall a particular time in your life when you were in the company of a really good listener. Someone who let you speak and who listened to you patiently with their full attention as long as you needed to talk. Maybe this listener was your spouse, a friend, a teacher, a mentor, your supervisor. Maybe it was a family member such as your parent or a grandparent when you were a child. I want you to reflect on a situation like that, and I want you to think about what that kind of listening, how it made you feel. So I invite you to share, reflect and share in the chat if you feel comfortable, or you can just sit back and reflect on your own as well. I'm just going to give you a minute or so to think about how that made you feel when you were being listened to. Valued, respected. Thanks, Lee. Heard. Important, understood. Special, yes. Worthy. Some great examples of how being heard and being listened to made you feel. Thank you so much for sharing. Such a valuable experience. Validated. Just needed to talk out loud to someone. Yes, thank you, Suzanne. Awesome. Yeah, when it seems like no one is listening to you, it's so easy to feel frustrated, unimportant. You can even feel like lonely. And it feels so good to be heard. And Amanda, you said it. You just want to be heard. You want to be validated. You want to feel connected emotionally. And maybe you even felt honored for somebody to listen to you to that extent and to listen to you so deeply. Perhaps some of the attentive listening that you received allowed you to think out loud, as someone had mentioned. Oh, Suzanne, how to think out loud, right? Sometimes if you're facing a particular challenge, thinking out loud can help you think more clearly about a situation and perhaps think more decisively about it. We don't want others to necessarily agree with how we feel. We crave that validation, and we crave that feeling of feeling special, as Janine pointed out. When we're angry, we want someone to say, I can see that you feel very angry and frustrated right now. That must be so hard. When we're sad, we want someone to say, I can see that you're feeling really down lately. That must be really tough. So we want to recognize how feeling listened to made us feel. And it's great that you felt special and that you felt unique, and you want to hold on to those feelings because that's the real power of listening. And if you have experienced that, then you can then help create others feeling that way as well by being an active listener to them. So thanks for sharing, everybody. Now I invite you to go to the polls. I'm going to put up a poll question here, and I am going to have you answer it, sharing it right now. I'd like you to think about which one of these elements do not best describe active listening. Wonderful. So if you answered E, you are correct. Active listening is not easy. And that's why we're here today, right? To remind us how effective active listening can be in conversation, whether it be in conflict, whether we're supporting others, whether it be a virtual setting or an in-person setting. We recognize that it's not an easy task to do, but it can be so beneficial in our communication style. So thanks for answering that. So when we talk about active listening, it starts with our ears, right? So we hear the words, we hear that tone of voice, and we try to make sense of that. But it also involves our eyes, where we're paying attention to that body language, which was mentioned earlier, and that can definitely speak volumes. Most importantly, we need to pay attention to our internal dialogue. And when we're listening actively, we need to press pause while we listen to the other person. And this is the part that can be very challenging for many of us. As we listen to the words of someone else speaking, we often connect our own ideas and our thoughts. And then that's when we start to plan what our response is going to be as we are listening to the other person. So we'll get back to that in a second, but let's break down some of these components of active listening. So active listening is a skill. It's a learned skill. Unfortunately, it doesn't really come naturally to many of us. We need to learn it. We all have it in us, and we all need to be reminded to practice. You need to think of listening like a muscle. Just like our muscles, we need to train them in order for them to be strong. It's the same with listening. We need to practice in order to strengthen the skill of active listening. Active listening involves intention. So intentionally focusing on the person who is speaking so you can fully hear and understand what is being said. Paying attention to words, to tone, to body language, and to feelings of the other person is important. It also involves being empathetic. Empathy is a conscious attempt to acknowledge and understand what the other person may be going through and its importance to them. So it's not just about hearing the words that are being said, it's connection and it's trust. And lastly, it's also a challenge. And I highlighted in red because this speaks to that poll question that we all answered. It's a challenge because it essentially involves being mindful. And being mindful and present in the moment is not always an easy thing to do. We have to be conscious of our listening skills. If we go back to that first scenario with the virtual learning and being distracted by all of those distractions around us in this noisy world we live in, that can prevent us from being in the moment, being present, and being mindful. And many of us have some of those unconscious filters, such as our values, our beliefs, our language, our culture, our attitudes, our expectations, our intentions, our life experiences. And all of these components create our own reality that can impact our ability to fully and actively listen to someone else. So we need to be conscious of these unconscious filters. And these unconscious filters are not bad. They make us who we are. They're wonderful elements to us as human beings. However, they can be distracting when we're trying to actively listen and try to understand what someone else is communicating. So, I didn't mean to go to that slide at the moment. I want to hear from you first. So I want to hear from you. I invite you to go to the chat, and I want you to, or if you feel comfortable, I want you to think of some active listening tips and skills that you would perhaps, that you currently work on, or that you remind yourself of, or that you share with others. I would like you to share some of those active listening skills in the chat before I go into breaking down some of the skills and tips that I have moving forward. Okay, my challenge is to listen, not to solve the problem. Yeah, it's tough not to go right to problem solving. Thanks, Raymond. I try to focus on body language. Yes. Trying not to offer advice unless asked. And that goes back to that problem solving and trying to make the situation better, is jumping to that concept of trying to provide advice or a solution for somebody. Validate the other person's feelings. Try to ask more questions, not make assumptions. Do not assume. Absolutely, do not assume. Yeah. And that comes from some of those unconscious filters in our own reality too, right? It's important to press the pause button sometimes on our mindset and our thought process while we're listening, which is so tough to do. Provide empathy when needed. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing all of those. And as I move forward with some active listening skills and tips, and many of these are a reminder for all of us. We've heard these before, we've practiced these before, we're aware of these. But it really helps to get a refresher and a reminder, and consciously think of these skills when we're trying to listen to someone. So when it comes to practicing active listening, again, whether you're in conversation, conflict, or you're supporting someone, you immediately want to stop what you are doing. You want to minimize those distractions, as Sharon had pointed out earlier. If you're in a virtual conversation, maybe close down your inbox, put your cell phone out of reach, throw all the pens and pencils or whatever off the floor so you're not constantly fiddling and distracting yourself with what's in front of you. In person, maybe that means stepping away from your computer, turning your phone on silent. You want to create an environment where it's safe and it's private and it's comfortable to have the conversation, both for the speaker but also for you to focus on your active listening. Being mindful of body language. I think Robert brought that up in regards to just being aware of what is being communicated via someone's body language, which 55% of the sent message is via body language. It's not the words we say, it's not the tone. I mean, those are pieces of it, but our body language really can speak to, it helps us better understand what someone may be feeling. Allow them to talk freely. So this is where you need to press that pause button or that mute button, right? Try not to interrupt. Try not to finish sentences. And I feel like this is something personally that I need to work on. You want to allow for silence. Sometimes there will be silence, awkward silence in a conversation. And you want to be patient. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, but sometimes it's needed, especially for a speaker to perhaps process what they're trying to say in order to best communicate to you what is going on with them, or to best deliver the message. You're a sounding board at this point. You're there to listen, and that's it. Remain calm. So try not to get caught up in those emotions. You want to, again, press pause on that internal dialogue. Even though you may feel frustrated or agitated in a conflict type of situation, you want to try your best to just stay patient and remain calm. You want to react more to the ideas rather than the person speaking. Listen not merely to the words, but to the feeling content. And someone else spoke to this piece. Words can say a lot, yes, but you also want to take into account, again, the tone and the body language. And you want to reflect on that to the person. You want to restate what you're hearing. So someone spoke to paraphrasing and summarizing. So you want to say back to the person in your own words what you have heard by paraphrasing and summarizing some key points that you've heard. This really helps validate the fact that they feel heard and that you understand what they are saying. You want to reflect on some of those feelings. Again, you sound really angry and frustrated. Your arms have been crossed this whole time, right? That must be really hard. Asking clarifications once in a while. This is huge because in order to better understand and learn, right, we need to ask questions. Where there's an appropriate point in the conversation, asking a question to clarify shows that your intention is to learn more and shows that you are being attentive and you are trying to understand where they're coming from. Be aware of your own feelings and strong opinions. And this is a really challenging part because we want our own feelings and strong opinions to be validated too. And this can involve some risk taking, especially in a conflict situation for the listener. Because the listener, when you're listening, you have to put aside your worry that your own feelings and your own needs will be forgotten. They won't be forgotten. It's just at this moment in time, in that present moment, you are being the listener to better understand where the speaker is coming from. Trust the process and know that eventually you'll have your moment where you can speak to your own feelings and opinions. And refrain from trying to fix the situation. As military members, this is tough because that's what you're trained to do. You're trained to solve issues, solve problems. As human beings, this is difficult to do. We want to make people feel better. We want to try to help others. So we automatically jump to providing advice and providing solutions to help fix the situation. When you're active listening, fixing the situation is not part of that. That will come eventually. But in order to fix a situation, you need to understand first. You need to understand and fix later. You need to find out what that root of the problem is. You need to get perspective from all parties involved. As much as we like to think that we know everything, we really don't. So especially in a situation where there are some issues and problems, gaining that perspective from everyone can help you better understand so you can focus on the solution piece later. So I actually have a quick little video to show everybody here. And it really speaks to and demonstrates a conversation between a couple, and it demonstrates some less ideal active listening skills. So have a watch right here.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... sometimes it's like there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just...
Don't.
Try to see things my
So that little video clip is called It's Not About the Nails. Some of you may have seen it before, and it does definitely demonstrate the fact that the listener was trying to jump to fixing the problem, or the problem that they saw was their reality, based on their own internal dialogue and perhaps unconscious filters in there. But you could see that the speaker, it wasn't just about the nail, it was something deeper. So in order to understand and learn what that issue is, you need to press the pause button again on your own internal dialogue, implement these active listening skills to better understand the situation, and then to eventually come up with a resolution. Yes, Jeremy, that never does get old, that video, does it? All right. So I love a good quote that can turn a skill or a concept into complete common sense. It also may turn your thought pattern into one that can better motivate you to practice a particular skill. So this is a quote that does resonate with me. It might not resonate with everyone. When you talk, you're only repeating what you know, but when you listen, you learn something new, from the Dalai Lama. It's not easy because, again, we all have our own reality based on those unconscious filters, and it's just a reminder to put them aside for a second so we can better understand when we are listening, a situation when we're listening to somebody. So moving forward, I'm a little over my time, but we're just in summary. Moving forward, the hope is with your active listening and practicing active listening, you listen with intention to gain a better understanding. You listen with curiosity, so going into a conversation or a meeting with a desire to learn rather than try to fix a situation. Listen with openness, so pause your judgments, your biases, your assumptions, and listen, be in the moment, be conscious of those unconscious filters while you try to understand. And then lastly, listen with empathy, recognize the emotions of the speaker, put yourself in their shoes, try your best to do that. You may surprise yourself. As you empathize, you may reconsider your stance on certain topics or issues that are brought up. And the old proverb that states, some of you may have heard this, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. I love that one too, and I always love to share it when I'm talking about active listening, and it does resonate with me too. I think about that as well. So thanks everybody for listening to me this morning on this edition of Wellness Wednesday webinars with Health Promotion. Next Wednesday, we have Krista, who will be talking about changing the conversation around COVID. And it will be at 8:30 next Wednesday. I'm going to share the link with you so you can register right away here with this link. And she uses reframing and discusses how COVID opened the doors to opportunities, and it's a chance to consider the world through a different lens. So we hope to see you all there next week. And I also wanted to let everyone know that we're hoping come June, we have some dates set aside for our Intercom program, which provides you with the opportunity to learn more about active listening. It may be another reminder for you, and actually practice it as well. So our Intercom program, we partner with the Military Family Resource Center to facilitate this. It's the dates are the beginning of June. Hopefully we can do some in-person programming by then. That is the hope. So I just wanted to put it on everyone's radar. I'm just going to provide a link to health promotion core programs. You can read up more about the Intercom program. And this is just, again, easy access. Put it in your favorites if you want more information about HP and all the programming we have available. So thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe. If you have any questions or concerns, the best way to get in touch with us is through Health Promotion Kingston at cfmws.com, and you can also follow us on social media as well. I hope everyone stays warm, and it's snowing like crazy outside right now. I can't believe it. And enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jeremy, too, for moderating. Have a wonderful day. See everyone later.